I was talking with some parents, and another question that has come up quite often is when the parent is trying to help their child do the schoolwork that has been assigned to them, and the child's having a meltdown because they're overwhelmed, they don't understand it. The parent is also very frustrated because they don't understand it. Schoolwork's being done a little bit differently nowadays than
Mm.
some people experienced when they went to school. And the parents just really don't know what to say to the teacher, um, to explain like what the problem is that their child is having, because all they know is their child is having a meltdown. And so, do you have any advice for one, what the parent can do to help the child through the meltdown, and also how the parent can talk with the teacher about getting help and assistance?
Yeah, thank you. It's a great question, isn't it? Managing the meltdown, that's what we're talking about. It's a great question. We've all been there, and here's the challenge about being parents is our kids never have meltdowns or their worst moments at the best time. They don't ask for our schedule before they decide to just lose all sense of control. We've all been in those situations, right? Where we're in a restaurant, for example, and then they just lose it for whatever reason. Couple of things to keep in mind. When our children, related to schoolwork now, when our children are trying to do their schoolwork and something's they're not understanding something, they try to reach out to their parents and we don't necessarily understand it either. It's a stressful environment. It increases the stress response of our kid. When we get stressed, we sometimes go into conflict mode. We sometimes go negative in our thinking. That's why we sometimes see what we would call a meltdown, those negative behaviors, because the kids know the expectation, for example, is to get the assignment completed, but they don't know how to complete it. That's stressful and that worries us. In the moment, when a child is in the middle of a meltdown, the first question I try to ask myself is what sense of control can I give over to the child? Sometimes our sense is when a child is having a meltdown, we pull all control away from them. Now, that's certainly true if they're a danger, they're going to hurt themselves or someone else, then we have to stop that. But that's not usually the case, or not always the case, I should say. If the child's in the middle of a meltdown, stress is a result of feeling like you don't have control. After all, if you think about it, if you had control over a situation, it wouldn't stress you out. So
Yes.
we ask ourselves, what can I give the child control over? So we might take a break. I might ask them to go for a walk. We might go play a game for a few minutes. I might have them just stand and breathe. Just we tell kids that all the time, right? When you're in the middle of a
Yes.
meltdown, just breathe. Sometimes we have to remind them to just breathe. Here's another thing to keep in mind is when we're watching our kids have a meltdown, that stresses us out too. And so then they're stressed and we're stressed. Here's a bonus idea for you. Really interesting. You might have already heard this. Maybe your parents know this as well. Stress is contagious. Have you heard that before?
I have heard that before. Yeah, we just spread it like wildfire.
When I'm stressed, the people around me are more likely to be stressed. So if my kid's freaking out and having a meltdown, that stresses me out. If I stress out, that's going to stress them more. It's just this horrible cycle. So in the immediate, when a kid's in the middle of a meltdown, I say, what kind of control can I hand over to the child? Could it be as simple as ask them to go ride their bike for 10 minutes? Could it be as simple as have them go get a snack, breathe, have them sit down, watch a cartoon for 10 minutes, just do something to get away from the immediate stressor, to get some sense of control over their life. That's one part of the discussion. The other part is then to reach out to the teacher and ask them one really important essential question. Probably the most important question you can ask a teacher when you're looking at an assignment and not really understanding exactly what needs to be done, just ask them this question. What's the most important thing? So maybe it's an online science experiment they're supposed to do and you can't figure out the online portal or the website or that, just ask the teacher, what's the most important thing my child needs to do or learn as a result of this assignment? And good teachers will narrow it down and they'll say the most important thing is this. That helps us wrap our head around, okay, maybe all of it, some of this other stuff is ancillary and not as important. And when we can then communicate that to our child, the most important thing that our teacher wants us to do is this. Oh, I can do that. It's a brilliant question. It's really simple, actually, but just ask the teacher, what's the most essential thing that has to happen for my child to be successful? And sometimes that weeds away, kind of gets us through all of the other stuff to the most important thing.
Okay, I think that sounds like some really good advice. Thank you so much for, helping us with that issue. Thank you.
You're welcome. It's my pleasure.